It always amazes me how the fabric of North Carolina boat building is woven together. At Jarrett Bay, we've always prided ourselves on our roots to the early builders, some of the legends of boat building. One of these legends is a name that comes up pretty often around here, Ray Davis of Marshallburg, North Carolina. We've been fortunate to have more than just his influence. For more than 2 decades, our new construction team has been led by his apprentice and grandson, Gary Davis. After helping build well over 100 custom boats, including 45 here at Jarrett Bay, it's bittersweet to announce that Gary will be retiring at the end of the month. But before he goes, let's take a look back on Gary's time here at Jarrett Bay.
I'm Gary Davis. I'm in charge of all the new construction projects and been with Jarrett Bay now for 22 years. The history and the start of the sport fishing style boats, that began back in my granddad's day. So my granddad was Ray Davis Boat Works in Marshallburg. A long history there. He built boats from starting back in the 30s, and then he retired about the same time that I started my business in 1978. I wanted to be in the boat building business really from very early on because I grew up in my granddad's boat shed, and it was just a way of life for us. Each project has its own set of new things to figure out and new things to try, and that's what makes it so interesting for me. Starting out building, little commercial skiffs or small sailboats to ultimately building a full-on sport fishing boat. Boat building is intense. It's hard work and it's dirty work. The only way you can survive it is to absolutely love it. But if you love it, it's quite an adventure. My time at Jarrett Bay honestly was life-changing for me. Randy offered me a job back in '98. At the time we were friendly competitors, but it was a friendship to begin with. Just the history of that 22 years honestly was life-changing for me to be involved in leading cutting-edge designs, each one setting the bar higher and higher. I'm leaving now, but there's a really good team in place, and I'm really excited to see what's coming next, because there is more coming. There is more coming. This is not a one-man show.
Some of the first naval architecture classes we had to do a lines plan by hand. And they brought out these funky looking weights that looked like whales, and they had plastic battens. And I remember vividly as we were doing that, they said, we're gonna teach you this as the basics and where it comes from, but you're never gonna see these again. Well, the first day I walked into Jarrett Bay, and on this drawing board right here sat the whales, and I was like, I'll be darned. There's the old school Gary right there.
He can go out there and with his eye tell you exactly where a water line is going to be on a boat, how much the thing's going to weigh. Coming up through school, we learn all these things, we go through all these classes and crunch numbers all day long, and we could be off by 10%. And there's Gary, he'll be off by 0.5%. Blows my mind. So all the computers can't do all this, that it just takes eye, it just takes experience.
I've tried to be a sponge around him, trying to gather every bit of insight that I can. He brings so much knowledge and experience to the table that it's invaluable and irreplaceable. It's been cool to adapt his means and methods into the computer world and bring those efficiencies into an already developed design that he has mastered, and now we're trying to perfect.
22 years at Jarrett Bay, a lot of boats. What is your favorite boat?
Trying to choose a favorite boat is like choosing a favorite child. It just can't be done. Since I can't narrow it down to just one, here are 4 of my most memorable Jarrett Bays, in no particular order. The obvious start of the list has to be hull number 62, Haruko, simply because of the magnitude of the project and the impressive final result. The amount of design and engineering involved was immense, and the finished boat is unmatched in the sport fishing world. It was simply a once-in-a-lifetime project to be involved with. I'd say on a similar note, I had to give a high spot on the list to hull number 48. The R&D for this boat led to the Marion Test Facility over in Holland, really for some of the most extensive tank testing in the world. And what we learned in that process led directly to our new bottom design that we've used on every hull since. As far as the quintessential sport fishing machine, hull 59, Builder's Choice, is hard to beat. For me, it's a perfect combination of the traditional style, just the right amount of modern influence. Finally, I just can't leave out Hull 63 to privateer. To combine our sport fishing hulls with the retro style of a cruising boat was a really cool experience. And it goes to show just how versatile the Jarrett Bay team is, and that we're continually pushing the boundaries a little further all the time. Looking at that boat, you just can't help but imagine being anchored up in a secluded bay, enjoying some quiet music, a cocktail at sundown, and the whole world just being a little bit more mellow and a little bit less stressful.
If you're enjoying these stories, please share them, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Leave us a comment wherever you're watching, and let us know whatever topics you'd like us to cover in the future. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.